Subscribe to our channel for more videos. Hi kids, welcome to SySy Toys. Today we got a new Cinderella book. Okay kids, we're gonna read this book. Let's get started.
Long ago, in a faraway land, poor Cinderella lived with her mean stepfamily. They filled her days with cooking, scrubbing, washing, and chores of every kind. Cinderella's stepmother and two stepsisters, Anastasia and Drizella, never helped with her work. But Cinderella remained cheerful and kind. She made friends with all the animals that she met. Cinderella even made clothes for the mice who shared her small attic room. One day, Jaq, her favorite mouse, was upset. "What's all the fuss about?" Cinderella asked. Jaq led her to a new mouse caught in a trap. Cinderella quickly freed the frightened mouse. Then she dressed him in a new clothes and found the perfect name for him, Gus. When it was time for Cinderella to feed the chickens, the mice headed for the farmyard. Cinderella always saved some corn for them, but today the mean old cat Lucifer blocked their way. Jaq was chosen to get the cat to chase him. Then the other mice could scoot outside.
But Jaq didn't go for it. Because he was...
The plan worked. Jaq kicked the cat and angry Lucifer began chasing him. But Jaq was too fast for Lucifer and made it safely into a mouse hole. While Lucifer waited for Jaq to come out, the other mice scampered by him. They tricked the cat. They tricked Lucifer. Cinderella spent the rest of the day attending to chores.
Look at that
Take
face.
that ironing, Drizella demanded.
Look at that face.
Yeah. Don't forget the mending, Anastasia added. Pick up the laundry and get on with your duties, her stepmother ordered. Oh dear, poor Cinderella. So many chores to do. Meanwhile, at the royal palace, the king complained to the Grand Duke. "It's high time my son got married," he sobbed. "I want grandchildren." The king decided to hold a ball. "If all the eligible maidens come," said the king, "the prince is bound to find his bride among them." Later that day, Cinderella heard a knock on the door. "Open in the name of the king," said the royal messenger. He handed Cinderella an invitation. When her stepmother read the invitation aloud, Drizella and Anastasia became excited. Each imagined the prince falling in love with her.
Hell.
With the prince. Cinderella was also excited. "Why, that means I can go too," she said. The stepsisters laughed. "Every eligible maiden is supposed to attend," Cinderella answered. Surprisingly, her stepmother agreed. "I don't see why you can't go. If you get all your work done and if you can find something suitable to wear." Cinderella raced to her room and found a dress that had belonged to her mother. With a little stitching, she could make it pretty. As Cinderella worked on the dress, her stepmother and stepsisters called for her and gave her many chores. "Get them done quickly," said her stepmother. Oh dear, more work for Cinderella. When Cinderella had to put the dress aside, her animal friends began to work on it. They gathered beads and a sash that the stepsisters had thrown away. Soon they had created a beautiful gown.
Now what do they want?
Cinderella finally finished her course and went to her room. Then she realized it was too late to get ready for the ball. She was so sad. Suddenly the mice yelled, "Surprise!" They showed Cinderella the beautiful gown. "Oh, thank you so much," she cried. Poof! Cinderella's fairy godmother appeared. "Dry those tears," she told Cinderella. "You can't go to the ball looking like that." "But I'm not going," said Cinderella. "Of course you are," replied the fairy godmother. She waved her magic wand over a pumpkin and a regal coach appeared. "Oh, it's beautiful," said Cinderella. The fairy godmother waved her wand again. Jaq and Gus and 2 other mice turned into 4 beautiful white horses.
What?
Yeah. Then she changed Major, the horse, into the coach driver and Bruno, the dog, into a footman.
A footman one. And turn that horse to a
She turned the horse into a coach driver.
coach driver is that?
Next, the fairy godmother turned Cinderella's torn dress into a beautiful gown. In a flash, there were also tiny glass slippers for her feet. On the stroke of midnight, the spell will be broken, the fairy godmother warned. Everything will be as before. The ball was just beginning when Cinderella arrived. She climbed the long staircase. "Oh, how happy I am," she thought.
I love that page. It's pretty.
The king and the Grand Duke watched as the maidens walked forward to meet the prince. The prince was unimpressed with them all. Then he noticed Cinderella. There she is. Cinderella's standing right here.
Yeah, they were ignoring. You only need one.
Yeah, and he only wanted Cinderella.
Yeah.
Entranced, he walked past all of the other maidens and led Cinderella into the ball. They began to dance. They danced every dance until the clock began to strike midnight. Bong!
Bing.
"I must go," Cinderella cried in a panic, freeing her hand from the princess. As she fled, she lost a glass slipper on the staircase. The clock sounded as the coach raced from the palace. It was midnight. The horses were mice again. Cinderella was in rags, but she still had one glass slipper.
Yeah.
Luckily, she still had one.
Yeah.
The next morning, the prince proclaimed that he would marry the girl who had lost her slipper at the ball. The king was furious that the girl had vanished and demanded that the Grand Duke check every house in the kingdom for the maiden whose foot fitted the glass slipper. The next morning, Lady Tremaine told her daughters that the Grand Duke was searching for the girl who lost the glass slipper. Whoever fit the slipper perfectly would marry the prince. Then the wicked stepmother realized that it must have been Cinderella who was the prince's favorite at the ball. She locked Cinderella in her room. Oh, how mean is that? "Let me out," Cinderella cried. But her stepmother put the key in her pocket, laughing her meanest laugh. Then Cinderella heard a knock at the front door. The Grand Duke had arrived. Meanwhile, Jaq and Gus had seen what the stepmother did. She took the key out of her pocket and slipped it under Cinderella's door. Downstairs, the Grand Duke watched his footman try to squeeze Anastasia's big foot into the slipper. Of course, the slipper did not fit Rosella either.
Yeah.
Their foot is too big.
Yeah.
That was impossible.
try it.
Yeah, she will try it. As she hurried down the steps, Cinderella heard the Grand Duke ask, "Are there any other maidens in the house?" "Please wait," cried Cinderella. "May I try on the glass slipper?" The angry stepmother tripped the footman as he approached Cinderella. The glass slipper shattered. "Oh no," moaned the Grand Duke. "But you see," said Cinderella, reaching into her pocket, "I have the other slipper." Quickly, the Grand Duke put the slipper on Cinderella's foot. It fitted perfectly. Cinderella was the prince's love. Cinderella married the prince and lived happily ever after. And so did Jaq, Gus, and all of Cinderella's animal friends.
High five.
The end.
High five. Thanks for watching, kids. I hope you enjoyed our video. Don't forget to subscribe our channel. Bye.